Fred Rachani of TSC News here to recap the final UFC pay-per-view of 2017, UFC 219, Cyborg versus Holm, December 30th, 2017. Actually, technically December 31st, 2017 here on the East Coast. It is freaking freezing. I had to bundle up, but I want to send a special shout out real quick to everybody this holiday season who purchased TSC merchandise, where you bought the t-shirt if you're somewhere warm, or bought the hoodie. If you haven't already, you can visit teespring.com/TSC-news-gear, or just click the link in the description. We greatly appreciate it. We also appreciate everybody for pre-ordering EA Sports UFC 3 via our official Amazon affiliate link in the description and on our website as well. Shout out to you guys for supporting this channel and continuing our hustle. Now, on to the night that was UFC 219. Cris Cyborg's toughest opponent to date on paper, Holm, the former UFC Women's Bantamweight Champion, the woman that destroyed Ronda Rousey, the woman that came from behind to defeat Bethe Correia, went up to 145. This ended up being, I thought, a great fight. Holm instituted a pretty good game plan early on. Yeah, she tried to go for that big-ass kick that also knocked out Ronda Rousey, but she was patient. She wore down Cyborg. You know, really great boxing. I mean, no surprise, this woman's a boxing Hall of Famer. You know, got the underhooks, pressed her up against the cage, tried to wear her down. Holm, I thought, fought a really smart and technical fight. Here's the problem for her, though. She fought against Cris Cyborg, who is bigger, who is stronger, and who hit a whole lot harder. Now, this fight went the distance. The official decision was, of course, Cris Cyborg retaining her UFC Featherweight Championship, 49-46, 48-47, 48-47 after 5 rounds of action. I thought the 48-47 was a bit generous, but a great fight nonetheless. She took Cyborg to the limit. There was a big flurry at the end from both women. You know, Holm looked like she kind of rocked Cyborg a little bit towards the end, but Cyborg was able to hook her up against the cage, and they weren't able to separate in time, and hey, it is what it is. Holm did need to finish at the end in order to win that fight, but just a great challenger. It really is. But now the question is, who's next for Cris Cyborg? Now, logically, one would think Megan Anderson of Invicta fame, who's got a nice following on social media, who's got a great look, who's an awesome fighter, who has the potential, I repeat, the potential to be a star for the UFC. But here's the problem. This has been a year where there's been a lot of people with the potential to be big stars for the UFC, Cris Cyborg included, and for whatever strange reason, it hasn't panned out. Now, maybe the reason's obvious. Maybe there's just too many damn fights, which has been the case since the UFC went to Fox to begin with back in 2011. Maybe that's the case. Maybe there's too many damn fights. Maybe a bunch of fighters don't know how to market themselves. I don't really buy that, because I see a lot of fighters hustling on social media, trying to get those likes, trying to get those retweets, trying to get their names out there. I really can't put my finger on it. I guess the most logical from a casual fan standpoint, I'm not a casual fan, I'm a pretty damn hardcore fan. Just a lot of fights. I have a lot of friends that they can't keep up. You know, they'll watch when GSP fights, they'll watch when Conor McGregor fights, if he ever fights again. But you know, as far as this fight, they've heard of Cyborg. You know, of course, a lot of people have heard of Holm, the knockout heard around the world. But I don't know how many people actually bought this fight. And while this was a great main event, and I'm glad I ordered this pay-per-view because of the fact that I was mainly wanting to watch the main event, the rest of the card was not that great. And I feel like this has been the case with a lot of UFC cards this year. Not saying all of them have gone to decision like this one did, but a lot. And I'm not even saying that a lot of the UFC cards this year haven't been entertaining. It just, they kind of drag, you know, after a while. And you can only care about so many fights and so many knockouts. A young woman retweeted a highlight video that was awesome she made of all these great knockouts of the UFC in 2017, which was awesome. But I shudder to think that the casual fan, or even some of the most hardcore fans, might only be able to identify maybe like a quarter of those, half of those. A lot of great action's great, but it's also got to stand out as well. So I feel like this was the problem here with this card. There was some good action, but I'd say a rare miss overall from top to bottom. We had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 decisions on this card. All decisions on the prelim card, including one draw for Fox Sports 1. On Fight Pass, the first fight of the night, we had Tim Elliott defeat Mark Tularosa via Anaconda choke submission in round number 2. This was an emotional win for Tim Elliott. He just lost his late coach, Robert Folis, rest in peace, legendary coach. And, that kicked off the night. But, yeah, the rest of the card was kind of rough in terms of decisions. As far as the main card goes, besides the main event, which, again, I thought was great, and you should go out of your way to see if you ordered the replay or if you plan on watching this eventually on Fight Pass, we started things off with Neil Magny taking on Carlos Condit. Unanimous decision win for Neil Magny, 30-27, 30-27, 29-28. Magny looked pretty good here, withstood the onslaught from the natural-born killer. This is Carlos Condit's first UFC fight in 18 months. Magny, I think, is one of those guys, as John Anik called him, is a perennial overachiever, and he didn't mean that in a disrespectful way. And I think that's a pretty good way to describe Neil Magny. He's a guy that, on paper, when you saw him on Tough and everything, he might have a nice career, a decent career, but, he's been in a lot of good fights and gotten some big wins over big-name guys, and this is by far the biggest win of his career. Did his thing. It wasn't a ridiculously exciting fight, but, the crowd really liked Condit. And, kind of sad to see him on the losing end here. He's been out for 18 months. I guess, post-UFC life wasn't the best for him in terms of, money and happiness, and it's kind of sad when you see a guy like Carlos Condit, who's as accomplished as he is over the last decade plus, to, I guess have to really come back to MMA. I mean, look, some guys come back for the love. I'm sure he loves what he does, but, MMA is not a great long-term career unless you're very lucky, like, Randy Couture or one of those guys. So I wish Carlos Condit the very best, but Magny got the win here. We had a very good women's strawweight fight between Carla Esparza, the former champ, and Cynthia Calvillo, who is undefeated. She was handed her first defeat at the hands of the Cookie Monster Esparza of unanimous decision. This was a nice, exciting fight. If you haven't seen it, go out of your way to watch it. Dan Hooker took on Mark Diakisi. This was a really good fight, too. Started off a little boring, but at the end, Hooker was able to get the guillotine choke submission in round number 3. But again, that's what, the second finish of the night overall. And then we had Khabib Nurmagomedov, say that 1,000 times. Khabib finally back, finally making weight. He's not injured. He didn't blow out his knee. He didn't get a musket, shot at him. I mean, no mishaps. Him and Cyborg, shockingly, no weight mishaps, which is awesome. So he took on Edson Barboza here. And while this was a great performance, especially if you're a Khabib fan, this was not a great fight. It was actually kind of uncomfortable to watch because Khabib just took Barboza down. He was a great striker. And just rained elbows and punches on him. Just ground and pound. It was vicious. Just look at the scorecards here. 30-25, 30-25, 30-24, unanimous decision. Overwhelmingly unanimous decision for Khabib. And after the fight, he challenged Tony Ferguson. He said, hey, you're the interim champion. You've won a bunch of lightweight. I've won a bunch of lightweight. Well, he's undefeated. 25-0. So, and that's a fight that a lot of people have been waiting to happen. So he called him out. And then he said, hey, Conor McGregor, right now he's busy spending his money. When he runs out of money, he'll come back and he'll fight me. And as funny as that is, based on a lot of Conor McGregor's conduct and what we've heard and the rumors, as sad as that is to say, that might be accurate. So we'll see what happens with Conor McGregor. So overall, as far as the pay-per-view goes, because of the main event, because of the Esparza and Calvillo fight, I'll give it a mild thumbs up. Overall, from top to bottom, I'd give it thumbs in the middle. But, as a pay-per-view, I mean, let's face it. Nobody ordered for Dan Hooker. Nobody ordered for Neil Magny. You mainly ordered this for Khabib and Cyborg. And the Khabib fight was a great performance, but kind of a dud as far as just, back-and-forth action. But if you did order it for Cyborg and Holm, hey, you got 2 world-class, high-level athletes, 2 champions, 1 former champion, 1 current champion, duking it out, showcasing their talents to the world. So I give it a slight thumbs up, but not a great event by any means. And now looking back at 2017, going into 2018 for UFC, this is a big one. They're looking to lock down a huge raise in TV rights, which means that none of my complaints or your complaints about too many fights or too many decisions or whatever will matter, because that's guaranteed money they will get year after year after year for the foreseeable future. Now, they'll probably get a raise anyway from like Fox or another network, but as far as a substantial one to pay off the ridiculous investment that WME IMG has made when purchasing the UFC, that, my friends, remains to be seen. But going into 2018, it's very clear that I think the UFC in some ways has outgrown Dana White, or at least the fan base has. You know, he's done a great job of marketing himself, of marketing the UFC, of kind of being the guy's promoter. But I feel like now he's become more or less counterproductive. I've been very disappointed with a lot of the matchmaking this year. Sean Shelby, with all due respect to him, he ain't Joe Silva. And I think a lot of people underrated Joe Silva's job before he decided to retire with his millions upon millions of dollars following the UFC sale. I think a lot of people kind of underrated Lorenzo Fertitta's influence and everything when it comes to making the real big boy decisions. I'm not saying Dana doesn't make big boy decisions or anything else, but publicly, when he makes a lot of these public statements, and hey, he's a public figure, I think we could judge him on this stuff. I feel like lately he's been more counterproductive than productive, whether insulting Amanda Nunes and then a month later putting her in a main event, whether it's insulting GSP, who's got colonitis, who vacated the title. He's complaining about GSP vacating the title. You were the one that gave him the Bisping fight. If you were worried he was going to do this, beat Bisping and vacate the title, why make the fight? Oh, wait, because you have no stars other than Conor and the ghost of Ronda Rousey, and you're not really good at making all these other stars who could be marketable. And then you just bury him afterwards. I don't get this, okay? Back when the UFC was hot, I get it, okay? Maybe Dana could get away with being Dana. But burying GSP, one of the all-time greats, and look, I still believe Dana White would bring back GSP if he had the chance, because let's face it, while Dana is one of the bosses still, he ain't the main boss. And WME IMG, is definitely looking to make a return on investment. But from a public relations standpoint, not great when it comes to dissing GSP. Yeah, I don't think he's but I can't think of any other examples right now. But Amanda Nunes and the GSP comments to me this past year really stand out as counterproductive, and I don't know. We'll see what happens. I mean, on paper, a guy like Cris Cyborg should be ridiculously marketable. On paper, a guy like Max Holloway, who's got a great personality, who has exciting fights, who has this huge winning streak, should be marketable. On paper, Demetrius Johnson, one of the greatest fighters already of all time, who streams on Twitch regularly to young people, should be marketable. But for whatever reason, they haven't clicked. And I'm a big believer that you can market people who don't have to be carbon copies of Chael Sonnen and Conor McGregor. It's happened before. And it can happen again. But perhaps with, the changed landscape in TV and digital, with all these things, taking up our time, like Twitter and everything else, maybe the attention span is just shorter, especially with all these freaking events. Who knows? I'd definitely like to hear from you guys about this. As for 2018, well, in a few weeks, we got Stipe Miocic, Francis Ngannou, Volkan Ozdemir, Daniel Cormier headlining UFC 220 in Boston. That's going to be one hell of an event. Stay tuned for our coverage of that. But folks, I'm going to get on out of here. I hope you had a great holiday season. I hope you have an amazing, amazing new year. Let me know what you think about Holm versus Cyborg. Let me know what you think about the UFC going into 2018. Again, thank you guys so much for ordering our t-shirts. If you want to order our t-shirts and hoodies, just click the link in the description. Until next time, everybody, take care. Please like and share. And as always, enjoy the fights.